legislative update. We certainly welcome you here this morning. Beautiful Friday morning here in Scottsboro, Jackson County. First of all, I want to thank Roy Light of Scottsboro Water Sewer Gas for sponsoring this, and Tommy Crumley for always putting together a great breakfast. They do a great job. At this time, I'm going to call on Michael Troll, the pastor at First Baptist Church, to give us the invitation. Michael.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the goodness that you give us day in and day out. God, we thank you for the blessings that you pour over us. We pray for the updates that we'll get from the men that serve us in our community and for us and represent us. God, we pray that we as a nation, even as a community, will fall back on you. God, we pray even for this breakfast and fellowship this morning. We ask that you just bless it. We thank you for loving us. We thank you most of all for sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins, rising again so that we could have eternal life in him. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Any special instruction?
Give back, serve in so many different ways. But Steve and I have been friends for many years now, and it's an honor for me to introduce Senator Steve Livingston.
I got in about 10 last night, which I did a little better than Tommy in the house. I don't think he turned till 9 o'clock last night, and I understand he has got state troopers chasing him everywhere. I'm going to talk about how fast he was or how long. And also this morning, Tommy said he stopped to help a young lady or a lady change a flat tire on the road on the way down here. So I want to let you know that's what type of person Tommy is. Solid individual, do what he can to help not only Jackson County but all our communities. And it's very important to me to have somebody like that working for me in the house. And also get you a text last night, I'd say about 10 o'clock, which is about the time I was hitting my driveway. So said he would not be able to be here today, that he had his business, All-Star Foods in Huntsville. They said they needed him today, so I can certainly understand that. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Roy, thank you for hosting this, and Tommy, thank you for doing the food today. Appreciate it. We have had 20 of our possible 30 legislative days. I know this was advertised as a halfway mark, so we're actually at the 2/3 mark. So we have 10 days left. Currently, the Senate has passed the education budget and sent it down to the House of Representatives. I understand that they're, I won't say playing with it, but they're awaiting the general fund budget to come together, because there may be a little money that can get shifted from one area to the other that might help some things there. The education budget is approximately $6 billion this year. Let me just back up a second. You know, Alabama is one of 3 states that has 2 budgets. We have an education budget, we have a general fund budget. We also are about a $28 billion business. Our total revenues for the state of Alabama are estimated $28.6 billion annually. 91% of that money has been earmarked by mostly the voters through constitutional amendments that say that that money goes to education, that money goes to roads, it goes to bridges, it goes to the various places over the years. Having said that, out of that $28 billion, we have some leeway over about $1.7 billion in the general fund budget. I am sure that all of you have heard and have seen the governor talking about a $700 million shortfall and his $541 million worth of taxes he wants. You know, quite honestly, there's not much appetite for taxes in what I see in the state Senate. I don't think there's much appetite in the state House either. And just out of curiosity, looking across this crowd, can I have a show of hands of folks who'd like to see taxes raised? Now, this is less than held their hands up in the Alabama Senate caucus the other day. So, and that was nobody. So that kind of leaves us to really one thing I like about cutting state government, consolidating, right-sizing government. As I understand from friends in the House, that they're expected to be sending up a package next week, I believe, to the Alabama Senate that will include $200 million worth of taxes, tobacco taxes, rental car, I think taxes, I don't think it includes new cars. So there's just not a lot of appetite. So somehow or another, we have to go back to the bills that are consolidating, right-sizing government. The $200 million that the State House is talking about sending it up to us will basically level fund us through the three big barriers that we have. One barrier we got taken care of yesterday, but inside the general fund budget, we have three big gorillas. One of them is prisons. We're at 192% of capacity in state prisons. As Jackson County experienced, I think, back in the 80s, as federal government came over and mandated that we built a prison back in the 80s. We don't want that to happen in Alabama because they will mandate us to build our way out of it. Yesterday, Cam Ward passed through the State House, Senator Ward passed through the State House his prison reform package, and it was concurred with on the Senate yesterday afternoon late after a long, arduous fight among friends on the Senate floor, which is never any fun. But it was concurred. That package, prison reform package, will take over time. It's a combination of Senate reform and some other things, but it'll bring our population back to about 140%, which is acceptable at the federal level. So it'll take a little while to get there. To our county commission, that's my understanding, and we were assured that it would not shift any cost back to the city or counties on that. So, Gary. Well, that's what we're told. So, the cost associated with those prisoners will stay with the state. So, long term. So that's one good news. The two other issues that we have are mental health and Medicaid. Without systemic fiscal reform to those two items, any amount of money we throw at those two, it'll just gobble it up. We can throw millions of dollars at it, and it'll just gobble it up without some systematic reform. We got an unemployment rate in Jackson County, roughly, Mayor's 6.24%. Roughly here, we got 26% of our population on Medicaid. There's something systematically wrong. We got this reform. But this budget that is coming up from the House, as I understand it, will level fund those issues. So you've heard all of, I hate to say scare tactics, but the governor has been out and he's talked about how he's going to shut down highways, highway patrol group, and we're going to be down to 3 driver's licenses. We're going to close the state parks. He's in Huntsville today, and one of the agencies over there talking about state parks. They're self-funded. They have a small amount of money that comes out of the tobacco settlement. Other than that, they're based on their own revenues right now. So for them to go ahead and shut state parks down on May 1st or June, it's really ironic. Just yesterday, I had an email from the State Parks Director, Greg Lean, that said that they had received a letter from their private partner that was going to do zip lines and mountain biking trails at Gunnersville and over in DeSoto that said they were going to hold off a little bit. So imagine that if you go out and talk that you're going to close down a state park, and by the same right, this is the same gentleman that signed the agreement with the state parks just a month earlier, and now you've told them that you're going to close them on them, so it's kind of interesting. So I don't know where we're exactly headed. It's a little bit of a train wreck. Some folks say that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember vividly a gentleman a long time ago telling me that was a train coming at us. And I think he may well be. Back up to education just a little bit. I noticed Dr. Spivey taking notes. About $6 billion there. passed a charter schools bill, which not everybody was for. I don't think that's something we'll ever see here. We've updated the Accountability Act for folks who get scholarships, continue to get scholarships there. We increased textbooks fundings there. Let's see here, I had one of those things I was going to mention there. Virtual schools, which was not part of the charter school package, just allow us to do virtual schools. And just yesterday, we established a 2-year board. The SACs had suggested that the state separate the 2-year school system away from K through, I guess, 14 at that rate, and break it out. And yesterday, we established and put a committee that is standing on the state 2-year school board there. We have passed the Alabama Head Act out of the House. It's now in the Senate. That is to help bring technology to schools. We'll see where that ends up when it gets to the House of Representatives. Everything that has been thrown out that you see is the worst case scenario. You know, budget cuts $30 million in 30% Medicaid and places like that. And I just want to assure you to patience. I don't know that there's a plan in place, but I feel like there's one working. I know that our leadership meets regularly with the leadership downstairs in the House. They meet regularly across the street with the governor. I was across the street last Thursday morning with the governor and talking about a project that we are hopefully landing in Jackson County in the future. And Dustin, I think will tell you if you talk to him that he's got a little more interest right now in Jackson County than we've had in a long, long time. The governor is pretty, for lack of a better word, hell-bent on his $541 million worth of taxes. I'm happy to help you, Steve, but I want my $541 million worth of taxes. And as I look across here, I see smiles on the face. And that same conversation, as I looked across the desk at his staff members standing there, I saw kind of smiles on their face too. So it kind of indicates maybe there's a compromise somewhere there. So, I'll give you probably a worst case scenario about where we're headed. Tommy, you want to come up and kind of overview when we can take questions together, or do you want to talk a little bit? That's a no, I take it. That's a very brief overview of where we are. Now, we did rewrite the TVA-in-lieu-of-tax bill. As most of you know, that there's been a kind of a sore subject around Jackson County for a long time. That bill was being rewritten and advertised, and then money will go back into the county coffers. That our prior delegation spent, what was it, $150,000 on legal fees of your money, and we don't need to be doing that. So we need to get that lawsuit settled, and hopefully that'll be gone very shortly. So, comments? Okay.
I'm none, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's about 9 o'clock and we adjourned. It was midnight when I got home. And I'm about 90 miles an hour short of being a NASCAR qualified. Anybody on the highway but me, I was driving safe. My wife would wake up here once in a while and say, "Are you awake?" I said, "Well, I hope so." Steve pretty well covered everything. Now, the governor, he's not, let's just put it this way, the House does not believe that he needs $541 million. I mean, we're looking at more like, give or take $1 or $2, around $350 million. We think that's what's needed in the House. The governor's not going to get what he wants. And I think that goes along with what the senators tell you. I mean, the House agrees with the Senate. The governor's wrong. So we're just going to have to look at the House. I guess to look at. We did do something very important last night. We did pass the prison reform bill. that they sent to us. And that's going to keep the feds out of our pocketbook. You don't want that, trust me. But they're doing good work up there. They're working hard. We're working hard. I think we're putting in more hours than they are.
This week you did.
Going back to the local stuff here, the TVA-in-lieu-of-tax. Folks, believe it or not, we had meetings on this, and we had to stop the bleeding. $150,000 of taxpayers' money was enough, and we came up with several different ideas, but we kept coming back to the same one every time. We feel like we made the right decision, and because you just can't keep beating a dead horse. You just can't keep doing it. You gotta make a decision and keep moving forward, and I think that we come up with the right decision to save the taxpayers' money. Happy to have any questions.
Let me back up and say this. 3 weeks out, last 2-3 weeks, we did budget hearings in the Alabama House. It's a larger body, or a larger seated body. And as these agencies came in, and some of you heard me say this a couple of weeks ago at Bridgeport, and I talked up there, these agencies came in to talk about what they needed. And I'm not sure what size paper this is, but this is the worst case scenario of the Alabama general fund budget. And again, I'm not sure what size paper that is, but I can assure you it's small type in there on top of that. But as they came in one by one, came in and talked about what they need and what was going to happen if they had to cut back. We're talking about cutting back state troopers. We have 3 driver's license offices in the state of Alabama that have this. And this was across the board, agency by agency by agency. Well, when in the end walked the director, right behind him was either 2, 3, or 4 people. And oftentimes, the guy that came in at the very last was an IT director carrying a flash drive. And they'd stand up there and they'd go through their presentations about how this was going to affect us, y'all, us, at Scottsboro and Jackson County. You're going to have to drive to Birmingham to get your driver's license. They didn't talk one time about this bureaucracy in Montgomery and cutting any of that bureaucracy in Montgomery. There were 5 of those guys in one agency. I won't name the agency. But the head director made $148,000. The 4 guys underneath him made anywhere from $110,000 to $103,000, and the guy carrying the flash drive was $103,000. Now they're talking about cutting out state troopers, talking about closing state parks, talking about closing mental health facilities, but they're not doing anything at the top. And there are folks looking real hard at how we can make sure that this change comes from above. So the real question is do they need the money, number one? Or is that just the purpose of the budget that's happened over the last 30, 40, 50 years in state government? A lot of thought in our party, in the Senate is, and I think in the House you're listening to, it's interesting who you run across. I've run across a lot of folks that I knew at the University of Alabama back in 1974. Have breakfast with one of them on a regular basis. He's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee in the House. As we sit and talk over breakfast, we talk about these same things we've seen in the state government over the last 40 years anyway. So, when we talk about those things, we said we're not seeing these agencies cut from the top. We're seeing them cut from the bottom where it hurts the worst, and that's what they're scared. They're showing you in an attempt to try to scare you. None of these budgets have been seen. Have been proposed. We haven't seen the House proposal yet. We kind of have an idea what they're talking about. It hasn't passed the House. It hasn't been sent up. There are some revenue generation measures in that, but and like the U.S. Constitution, the state Constitution requires that money to be generated, that legislation to be started in the House of Representatives. Because if we started in the Senate and sent it down to some a lawyer would challenge that and it could get kicked out real quickly. So we don't know what's coming yet. We know there's an issue. We know there's a little shortfall. We know what's the worst case scenario, but we don't know what the real scenario is. having said that again, happy to take a few questions.
Dave, at the beginning of the session, you guys took on and passed rather quickly. I was surprised, but the new business incentive like legislation, help out numbers, more competitive, our prior incentives are gonna fall behind. So can you speak to that?
I think that was House Bill 57, 58, and 59. The House passed those out, I think, first week. Unfortunately, there's a little incentive in there that we were trying to get Jackson County qualified. That had basically a rural incentives plan. It added an additional 1%, and Tommy went in and drew Jackson County in, and then DeKalb County was drawn in, and Marshall County was drawn in, and then Madison County was drawn in, and then Lauderdale County was drawn in. So all of a sudden, the idea of a rural incentive kind of went away. We're back to what was, I think there's a new term for it now, but targeted maybe be the word they use. But we do have a real good plan that's in place that Secretary Canfield tells us is competitive with our neighboring states, and it puts us in a position, gives us another tool in this toolbox to go to locate industry in Jackson County. And we're real pleased that did pass and passed quickly. It's a combination of 3 bills. One of them being a jobs credit for veterans, which I think is very important too. Yes, ma'am.
You talked about mental health and about these CEOs or executives having large salaries. I know for a fact one of the arts that my granddaughter works with, and she is the second to the top supervisor. But they lost a bus driver to go pick up their clients, and they can't replace it because there's no money. And if their bus drivers run short, then these two supervisors must come in and get the bus and go pick up. Now, can you change that the cut comes from the top and they don't keep cutting from the bottom?
There is conversation as we go into this of, I think the term would be micromanaging. There is conversation of micromanaging, which would be earmarking money that would go to make sure it went to driver's license offices in Jackson, DeKalb, Madison counties. Same thing with mental health. Yes, there is conversation about that.
Well, the ARC had a lengthy article in the Senate recently, what would happen to their claims if they were cut at all.
I have received numerous letters. That's a good word, Tommy. Thank you. Numerous letters regarding that. Yes. You know, the tactics that are being used by these directors. We have been contacted by people from all over the state of Alabama. I have a probably of older this thick arcs across the state of Alabama. Not just within the district, from across the state of Alabama. And I don't even want to talk about the number of emails. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you would address a concern that's just recently coming out that has an impact on veterans. Approximately 500 veterans here in Jackson County, and there's about 400,000 statewide. And there's a House bill that was dropped just a couple of weeks ago, 533, House Bill 533, and there's 2 sections in the bill. And what they do is the Veterans Assistance Fund receives their funding from earmarked funds. And I understand this House Bill 533 is going to move that money from going into the, from being earmarked to the Veterans Assistance Fund, and it's going to go into the general fund. And this can have a major impact on the state veterans nursing homes. The possibility if this money disappears, they're going to have to shut down the nursing homes for veterans. And there's other impacts that this will have. And I've got a letter for each of you. I'll drop it off at the legislative office this afternoon.
Let me back up and say that House Bill 533.
Yes.
Senate bills are now at 470 something, so that's 1,000 bills that have been dropped. I haven't seen it yet, I apologize, but I appreciate it, we'll be happy to take a look at it.
I was just made aware of it this past week, and it's something that, like I said, it could have a major impact on it.
As important as it is to pass good legislation, and there's only one way to pass good legislation. There are 100 or 101 ways to stop bad legislation, so.
Well, Representative Ainsworth, I believe is the name, he's the sponsor of it, and he's been talking to some people from the Veterans Administration, in Montgomery, and he may be leaning towards amending a portion of it to try to prevent what could be a threat.
Ainsworth is, he done a lot of work in earmarking money. That, state of Alabama right now, my understanding is we earmark 91% of our budget. Most states are around 23%. And he's been working on that for some time, but, Tuesday in our caucus meeting, they're not even looking at it. They've decided not to look at the un-earmarking the money. I mean, there's a lot of money there that can be un-earmarked. But there's most of the money take a constitutional amendment to un-earmark it. But as far as I know, his ideas was tabled at the House caucus meeting.
There's about roughly $2 billion in earmarks that are by statute that can be done without constitutional amendments. Representative Ainsworth has piled those into a list that is 20 pages or more. So I don't know that I don't know that we're prepared. If we feel like we're in that type of state, we want to go start unearmarking money. Most of that earmarking is done by us as voters in the past. So I'm not sure we're prepared to do that at this point. We'll look into it. I appreciate your letter and be happy to look into it. Take care.
Thank you, sir. You'd mentioned the TVA-in-lieu-of-tax. Has a couple of questions relating to that. Has that been passed yet within the House and Senate? And it has not. I see Tommy are shaking his head. And is there a proposal to abolish the Discretionary Fund Committee in that?
Gary, the advertising of that started on Wednesday, I believe, in the paper. That's to run 4 weeks. So, we're trying to we should be able to get it in unless we get into a gridlock at the end of the session. We should be able to get it in. We've got 10 legislative days left. Those are Tuesday and Thursdays, so we've got 5 weeks left. So we should be able to fit that in without a problem. It does abolish the discretionary committee, yes.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I think that Medicaid is a huge situation to grapple with. It's such a huge percentage of our budget. And you're right, things need to change. Good luck. But the only budget I've seen proposes a 50% cut in the Medicaid waiver program that allows the regional councils to keep people at home at $800 a month versus in a nursing home at about $6,000 a month. Cut it in half, and then all these people will be eligible for nursing home care, try to find a bed,
They won't find it.
So, I'm hoping y'all can look carefully at that.
As I understand, what we're going to get from the House, hopefully next week, level fund those programs where they are today. They've been cut in the past, right?
Doesn't make financial sense to cut a program that you're operating at less money than going to the nursing home. That just doesn't make financial sense.
I understand that.
It's like Steve said earlier, a lot of these things are being thrown at us, and I believe he's right, it's a scare tactic. The governor is saying $750 million. He'd like to have $541 million. Like I said, the way the House is looking at it, give or take $1 or $2, we're looking at $350 million is what we need to level things out. So I think most of these things that are here, is like Steve said, it's a scare tactic. I mean, it's just a wait and see thing. I think it's gonna be taken care of. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of legislators, older legislators in Montgomery tell me this is a bad time. Y'all, you people have picked the worst time to be in Montgomery, but you know what? I look at it in a different way. I believe if we handle things right and do the right thing, it'll be the best time to be in Montgomery. It just depends on how we do it. You know, and we're trying to be fair about it. But I'm looking at it as a positive. I'm glad I'm there. I mean, it's just like Dust was talking about the incentive packages. I got something done. I thought, boy, I really did. I run up to see Steve. I was so excited about it. You know, I got Jackson County included, and on an extra 1% of incentive money to industry. I was so excited, you know, and then it got shot down, and then it got took away. You know, and that's how fast they can take the wind out of your sails in the gun. But I really believe with all my heart that we have picked the best time to be in Montgomery. And I'm down there for the people of Alabama, just like the senator is, but I'm in Montgomery for the people at home. And we're going to do it right. We're going to do that thing, I promise you.
One of the first things Tommy told me when he came up to see me, this may have been the first day we were down there, he came upstairs. He said, you know, I laid awake last night worried about these bills, how they're going to affect our people. It wasn't a couple of days later, he came back by and he said, I was awake last night worried about how these are going to affect our people at home. It was a couple of days later that I got on the elevator. One of the senior members of the state house got on the elevator with me, and he turned and looked at me and said, you gotta tell Tommy not to lay awake worried about these bills.
I'm worried about home. I'm just telling you, it's a good time to be in Montgomery. It's not bad.
We have challenges.
That's right. We're gonna take the bull by the horns. We're not running from it. We run into the hornet's nest, we're not running from it. We're gonna try to take care of business and do it right for the people at home, first and foremost.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Would you stand up? I'm not sure everybody here's met you. I know you're in,
This is
you're in your fatigues today.
I'm in my Collins.
This is Sanders 5-year, school superintendent, you had that opportunity. And it's field day, so.
I would have dressed differently if I didn't stand up. This is more of a comment than anything, but, in the last few years, there have been so many changes, enacted by bills and laws, affecting public education. And throughout the state, as I've worked in different places, I know as a public educator, it's been difficult to keep up with it. It happens so fast, and it's like, what just happened here? And then there are so many unintended or maybe intended consequences, I don't know, that we have to sort through. So I just wanted to thank Senator Livingston. It's been great to communicate with me in my very short time getting started here and ask, what do you think about this? And I've been able to share, hey, I'm concerned about this or that. So I appreciate that. And I really just wish statewide there would be more communication with the SSA class and the other organizations and at the local level, because there are so many unintended maybe or intended consequences that are happening with these bills. It's just become impossible to keep up with it. I know
thank you very much. You know, if some of these bills are simple, some of them are 3 pages, and they don't say it on them. Some of them are 50, 60. The ABC bill, I think, was 119 pages. Can't do it. It's hard to know what all the consequences are going to be as you go through it. And I'm not an attorney. I think sometimes they do have an advantage over us in trying to go through these and read them and understand them. But I think a lot of them are probably unintended consequences. And Dr. Spivey, y'all have the State School Board Association does an excellent job of keeping us posted. They have good folks working the halls, and working the halls is no other issue in the time. So, you know, there's 140 of us, 105 downstairs, 35 upstairs. There must be 1,000 or 1,200 lobbyists in the hall. Those of you who have been down there, if you've tried to get down through the hall, you feel like you are having to run through. I don't want to offend you, Wes, but having to run through Coach Bryant or Coach Jordan's fumble line with a football, trying to get down from one end of the hall to the other. So it's a real task to do that. But, your group does a great job.
I just want to tell you, he's talking about how many pages are in a bill, the prison reform bill that they sent us. They had it on tape, speed reading, because they know some representatives want to have them read the bill. Took over 3.5 hours. They turn the tape on, and this speed reader starts reading. You can't even understand what they're saying. Everybody leaves. Over 100 pages, and every word has to be read. If someone asks for the bill to be read, they read it. So they started reading. They turned the tape on. This can't stop as fast. You can't understand it. You look around, everybody's leaving. It's unbelievable. I mean, I took my wife and we went and ate supper. and came back. They didn't look time. I mean, just to give you any information on what we're going through down there. I mean, if they ask for the bill to be read, and trust me, it's preordained. They know they're going to do it. When they start filibustering the bill, like if it's a long bill, we'll just make them read it. And it has to be read. Folks, I tell people this all the time. It's a lot different standing on the outside looking in as it is looking from the inside out. I'm telling you, it's an experience. I'm telling you.
And the final vote after the 3.5 hour reading was 100 ayes and 5 nays.
Yeah, they vote with you.
And it was 4 hours worth of valuable time. So, anybody else have any questions?
Steve, I want to go back to TVA, redoing the TVA-in-lieu-of-tax thing. The closing British Creek and the drop in the TVA-in-lieu-of-tax money is small on this balance. There's not any way to restructure the way TVA pays. That will probably pay over to Jackson County instead of paying us the amount of power and sale, which they're buying from other power sources all over the country.
As I understand that was a negotiated deal a long time ago before we obviously were probably even on this earth. And it is a combination of power generation, assets, and sales. Is that correct, Gus?
Direct serve assets and sales.
Direct serve assets and sales.
They don't consider well on an asset.
It's in the formula, but it's just been.
Until it produces power, it doesn't benefit the county, the city, Hollywood, anybody else.
We ain't got time to talk about that.
We got time to talk about my TVA-in-lieu-of-tax money dropping again, or is it going to be?
You know, with the closure of the additional facility at Willows Creek, I would expect it to continue to drop. Somebody else had their hand up. Gary, yes.
Let me ask another question, if I may. You briefly mentioned about ABC. I take you mean the alcohol beverage control stores.
Yes, sir.
Has that bill been passed? And if it has been passed, Thomas shakes his head again. Is there a proposal in that bill, and I think there is, to privatize alcohol sales in the state? And do you think it will be passed? What's that? What are you thinking about that?
It was passed out of committee. It has not been brought up on the Senate floor. Do I think it will pass? No, not right now. That's a Senate bill, consolidation. There are, I forgot the number, 640, 650 employees there, that, have state benefits. They're in direct competition with independent retailers. So, you know, that's basically the gist is cost savings of why.
Thank you. If nobody else, I do have one other question about Medicaid funding. You mentioned that, and I take the state is going to move toward funding Medicaid since Alabama does not participate in the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare. Is there a movement to participate in Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act, or is this just going to be state funding, increased state funding to the Medicaid program?
Gary, what I really think you'll see is some systemic reform headed to Medicaid. We'll probably see it level funded this year, but there's talking about getting control of cost. It by itself, if we don't do anything, grows at $100 million a year. We don't do anything. And our general fund budget is very limited in its growth dollars right now. If the education budget would grow 5%, I think we grow less than 1% in the general fund budget. So there's no way to keep up with money right now. It's a tough situation. Again, it goes back to fundamental systemic fiscal reform in mental health and in the Medicaid. We've done what we think is working in the prison system. Senator Ward has spent, I guess, really the last 14 months working on that for prisons. So hopefully we'll be able to have some sort of reformation in that those agencies that control costs, where it's just not skyrocketing on its own.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate you coming out today. I hope I haven't scared you to death. I know some days I wake up early and wonder, what have I done? I know Tommy has had that consideration also some, but I appreciate the opportunity to serve you. I'm humbled again by the opportunity to be here, and I thank you for that. So, y'all have a great day.